Open-ended and behavior-based interview questions are some of the most common questions asked during an interview. Your answers to these questions give interviewers insight into your attitudes, your opinions, and how you might handle or behave in very common situations that you will likely encounter in the new position that you're applying to. This is the Life-Work Balance YouTube channel, and I'm Abby. Today I'm going to chat with you about 2 acronyms that will help you prepare for and answer any open-ended behavior-based interview question. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can receive life-work balance advice delivered directly to you every Sunday. So when it comes to questions in general, there are 2 types of questions. We've got closed-ended questions and open-ended questions. Closed-ended questions are questions that can be answered with a single word or phrase and don't require any elaboration. It's likely a very simple yes or no answer or one word that can answer the question. On the other hand, we have open-ended questions. These require a much more complex response compared to closed-ended questions. When it comes to interviewing, you will likely encounter 3 different types of open-ended questions. You'll have behavior-based interview questions, which we'll focus on today. Then we have hypothetical open-ended questions, which are questions that focus on like what you would do if you were in a certain situation that relates specifically to the job. And then we've also got kind of out-of-the-box questions. These questions are used to determine your cultural fit with the organization. They're also used to see how quickly you can think on your feet and how creative you might be. Common ways open-ended behavioral-based interview questions begin are with phrases like, tell me about a time you, can you describe how would you handle, give me an example, or have you ever? When you hear that type of opening to a question, this is when you know that it's going to be a behavior-based question. The interviewer is specifically looking for behaviors that you would exhibit to handle or engage in a certain situation. So the 2 acronyms that you can use to build your response to these behavior-based interview questions are relatively simple and straightforward. First, we have CAR, C-A-R. C stands for circumstance or context, A stands for action, and R stands for result. So with the C, you want to describe the circumstance or the context of the situation that you're about to share with the interviewer. A is the actions that you took in that context or in the circumstance, and R are the results that you've achieved as a result of those actions. The second acronym that you can use is the STAR acronym. This is very similar to CAR, but there's one additional letter. So STAR, S stands for situation, T stands for task, A stands for action, and R stands for result. So the difference between STAR and CAR is the C in CAR kind of combines the S and the T from STAR. So when it comes to STAR, with S, you're going to set the scene. Why is it important that this is the scenario that you are sharing with the interviewer? T is task, so you're describing your responsibility when it comes to the situation or the scenario that you're describing. A, similar to CAR, is action. So what actions did you take as a result of those tasks? And then R is results, very similar to CAR. What results did you achieve as a result of your actions? So let's talk through an example. Let's say you're sitting in your interview and the interviewer asks you to tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult customer. So you quickly think to yourself through the STAR or the CAR method and you begin to formulate your answer. In my previous job, I worked in a call center and I received a phone call from a customer who was upset because they had received a product that was damaged during shipping. I knew that it was my responsibility to ensure that we provided this customer with the best service so that they could be happy and continue to provide positive feedback about our brand. So I asked the customer if they would prefer a full refund or if they would like me to ship them a replacement product. The customer said they would prefer a replacement product, so I asked the customer to email me photos or video of the damaged product so that I could issue them a full replacement. Within that day, the customer had emailed me the required documentation to process the replacement request. As soon as I received the documentation from the customer, I went ahead and processed the replacement request and I added expedited shipping so they could receive the product faster than they were expecting. Upon receipt of the product, the customers actually came back to our website. They left a positive review and called me out by name and mentioned that they would continue to interact with our organization and buy products from us because of this specific experience. So you can see how that example goes through each of the different steps of both the CAR method as well as the STAR method. But what's the difference between the STAR and the CAR method? Not much. So when it comes to the STAR method, you have the S and the T, and those are combined into the C from the CAR method. So with CAR, you're providing the circumstance or the context for the situation that you're describing. So that context includes describing the situation as well as the tasks that you'll be responsible for in order to take action and achieve results. So hopefully you can use this method to both create and brainstorm different responses to these open-ended behavior-based questions. If you would like some examples of common behavior-based interview questions, there's a link in the description below for you to access a list of these questions, download it, and then also prep for how you can answer these different types of questions. I recommend you review that list and you start to practice your responses to some of those questions, because the chances of one of those questions coming up during your interview or a variation of it is relatively high. So you want to make sure that you're prepared so that you don't have to think on your feet the entire interview. I would also recommend bringing in a notepad and a pen or pencil to your interview so that you can take notes throughout the interview. You can also write in the upper corner or on one of the margins of the paper, STAR or CAR, so you can remind yourself to answer questions in that format. If you have questions about the interview process or how you might answer a certain type of interview question, please put it in the comments below. Tune in next week, and I'm going to be sharing some strategies on how you can answer questions that are focused on your weaknesses. A lot of interviewees hate the questions that ask about your weaknesses because you don't want to bring anything negative up. Maybe you don't feel like you have any weaknesses, or maybe you're not sure what they are or what you should be sharing. So we're going to discuss some strategies on how you can answer that specific interview question. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can receive that notification directly to you next Sunday. If you're not quite to the interviewing process and you're still struggling with how you can write your resume, please check out my videos on how you can write your master resume as well as your tailored resume. If you are in the interview process and you've got some virtual interviews going on, please check out my video on video interview tips for 2020. I've got 4 tips for you that will share how you can successfully prepare and set up for your video interview so that it can go off without a hitch. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week.